All right. So, hey, welcome back. We are, let's see, session 5, I believe, or session 4. Yeah, for the Intentional Transformation Masterclasses series. So I am Debbie Peterson of Getting to Clarity. If I haven't had an opportunity to meet you, well, welcome. I'm glad you're here, either in the room or virtually. And let me just say that if anybody has any questions off of the recording, certainly feel free to email me. If you're not here to be able to ask questions live, then you're more than welcome to reach out and we'll answer your questions the best that we can. So, just wanted to do a check-in with the group. I am fresh in, and you all might as well unmute because we're gonna go with what's in the container tonight. And I want to check in with you. I'm fresh in off of a trip from Hawaii. I had just attended a Huna class. Huna is something that I study. It is a form of Hawaiian spiritualism. It is about us as energetic beings and how we sync up with ourselves, with the energy that we have within us or the energy that we have access to be able to heal self, to be able to use with others. So Huna is a workshop where you go and you are guaranteed to have some stuff come up because it'll bring it up. And so I'll start there tonight, just about stuff coming up. You know, what I advocate for is for people to be able to lead themselves first. So when your stuff comes up, it's a blessing. So I deal mostly with conscious, unconscious, and higher conscious mind. Those are kind of the 3 realms that I go throughout. You know, your conscious mind is your conscious thinking mind, the thoughts that you know that you're thinking. Your unconscious is your powerhouse where your wisdom is located. And then there's the higher conscious, and that's whatever connects you to source, however you define source, but capital S source. And, you know, that could be God, the collective, the universe, whatever it is that you decide. And so Huna is a workshop on that connection to your higher self. And it really is about getting to know yourself at a deeper level. And why it's so great that you end up in a situation where you know that you're going to feel like dirt because your stuff is coming up is that as a mode of operation, your unconscious will not present you with anything that isn't meant for you. It will not present you with anything that you don't have the ability to deal with it. So by virtue of something coming up and being in your face, and you've got to deal with it, you've got to sit with it, you've got to process it, it is a gift. And what it's saying is that you've got it going. You've got enough resources that you can handle this. I have faith in you. Here you go. And by the way, you need to deal with this before you get to where you want to go or you get to your next level. So just a little reframe on when your stuff comes up. So my work is about helping people to lead themselves first and really getting clarity about who they are and what it is that they want. One of the patterns that I seem to be seeing, and please let me know if this is something that resonates with you, is that we chase things. We either think that this is something that we should do, that this is what success might be, or we just chase everything because we really don't know from seeing other people what it is that we need to be doing, and our definition of success is left unclaimed. And so tonight we're going to claim what success means to us, and we're going to start diving into it. So where I would like to start when it comes to clarity, when it comes to leading yourself first, it is having that vision for what you want personally and what you want professionally. So we're going to dive into that a little bit tonight. And if you don't have a pen and a piece of paper, get one, because I'm going to have you doing some exercises, and then we'll debrief as a result. And so whoever is watching this, this is something that you can do on your own too. And what I would like you to do is start by, and I'm going to put these in the chat so that you can see them, and I'm going to list them out. There are 6 generally accepted areas of life. We'll start with the big one, which is career. A lot of people put their time and energy into career, but we also have family, and career obviously is whatever you do for a vocation. It's how you earn wealth. It's where you spend most of your day. It is the work that you do. Family is however you define it. Family for you may be, you and your spouse or significant other or partner and your children. It could be extended family that you go out to aunts and uncles or grandparents or something like that, but you get to define what family is for you. Relationships is the third area of life. And again, relationships is something that you get to define. And I'm going to put these in the chat. Relationships is generally an intimate relationship, but it doesn't have to be. If you aren't experiencing an intimate relationship like a husband, wife, significant other, partner, then if that's not part of your world, then perhaps it's something like a best friend or people that you're really close to. But you get to define what relationships is. And the fourth one would be health and fitness. So that is anything that you do to improve your physical container. It could be working out. It could be something around, weight donation, whatever it is that you choose. But health and fitness is about the physical container, the physical body. The fourth is personal development. It is developing you as a person. This is anything that you do to improve yourself outside of your physical body. So this could be taking a painting class. This could be learning a language. This could be, horseback riding or anything like that. Wine, collecting wine or anything like that. Anything that you do to develop yourself as a person, but it's outside of the physical container, is personal development. And then the sixth one would be spirituality. And spirituality is anything that you do that connects you with source. So for instance, me going to Huna this past week and a half was all about connecting with higher self and source. So the entire workshop focused on that. And so we went through exercises that put you in a position where you had an opportunity to connect with source. Spirituality can be organized religion as well. It could be, you going to church, you going to Sunday school, you going to a Bible reading class. You get to define what this means to you because it's your area of life, not mine. So spirituality for me is something like Huna. And, we hula'd. And believe me, if you've never hula'd, hula will bring up your stuff because it's not as easy as it looks. We hiked the volcano. We meditated at the volcano. It's very traditional. We made an offering to the goddess of Pele, the goddess of volcano. And, and we, hello, we're here in your home and here's an offering, right? When you go to somebody's house, you bring a dish or some wine or whatever. Well, we bring an offering for Pele. So it's a study of the ancient wisdom, but it has modern applications. So it could be anything like that. If you determine it's spiritual to you, then this would fall under spirituality. So here's what I'd like you to do. Let me put that in the chat. All right. So we've got career, what you do for work, family, however you define it, immediate family or extended family, relationships. And again, usually an intimate relationship. If you don't have an intimate relationship, it can be a bestie or someone like that. Health and fitness, anything you do to improve your physical container. Personal development, anything you do to improve yourself outside of the physical container. And spirituality. So what I'd like you to do is write a list in a column 1 through 6. So write 1 through 6 in a column. And then what I would like you to do is fully consider each one of these areas of life as it relates to you and your life. And I want you to put them in order 1 through 6, what is most important down to what is least important, knowing that they may all be important to you. And I want you to do this quickly, because what happens is you tend to overanalyze if you have too much time. So rank them in order according to what is most important, number 1, down to what's least important, number 6, knowing that they may all be important. But I want to have you choose. All right. Cheryl, when you're done, give me a thumbs up. And this, you're going to, this is information for you. So there is no right or wrong. This is just information for you. So what I'd like you to do now is write another column, 1 through 6, right next to it. Okay. Another column, 1 through 6. And I want you to prioritize them according to how you spend your time. Where do you spend the most time? Where do you spend the least time? Where you spend the most time goes in the number 1 slot. Where you spend the least time goes in the number 6 slot. And again, there's no judgment. This is just a baseline. Where are you at? And if you ever struggle, your checkbook, your calendar, your credit card statements, they're going to tell the tale. Where you spend, where you put your energy into. Energy flows where the attention goes. What are you focused on? So here's the illuminating question. Where are the gaps according to you? Where does list 1 compared to list 2 kind of tweak you a little bit? That I would love to hear from you. Where are the gaps in your opinion?
What stood out for me is that where I spend most of my time is career.
Which is generally the case. We got to pay bills, right?
Right. And I love what I do. But I ranked it as number 5 on my importance. That surprised me a little bit.
All right. So Cheryl, what do you do?
A lot of things.
Okay. All right.
No, I do like organizational development, leadership, and employee engagement coaching training.
Okay. All right. Good deal. And it's good that you enjoy what you do. And this is an opportunity. So when you look at your list, where you ranked career was number 5 on the first list. Where you rank your time, career is number 1. So it's kind of like, what are those things that are at the top of the first list? And how can you make some time for those? How can you start bringing those in a little bit? And what I suggest for people is that we don't focus on more than 3 at a time. 3 is doable. 3 is something we can keep track of. What happens in what I see happen, what I have done to myself in the past, what I tend to do sometimes when I forget, and what I see with my clients and my audience is that word balance. Balance is a bad frickin' word, in my opinion. And here is why. Because when we say, oh, I need to have more work-life balance, that means everything. It means I need to balance everything. And the thing is that not everything carries the same weight. Not everything is ranked the same. I mean, consider what we have gone through in our lives, right? What we have endured in our lives, things that have come up, things that have just like, whoop, thrown everything right off track. And all of a sudden we're recalculating, do a U-turn, recalculating, right? If we focus on 3, then we have that ability to make choices, because otherwise we're just depleting ourselves. We are trying to balance everything and we're depleting ourselves because it's not realistic, but 3 can be much more doable. So I equate it this way. And before I go on and I say this, Gail, where's the gap in your list?
The most important to me is family,
Okay.
career, and then relationships.
Okay.
And in the first, and then the second column, it was almost flipped. It was career, family, and health and fitness.
Okay.
But going by what you just said, though, and in my cart, like the past, recent past, I feel like I'm lacking. But personal development and spirituality are last just because of certain situations for spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
But I still feel, like you said before, like they're all important, and I feel almost guilty that it's the last on both columns.
So let's take a little pressure off. Okay. Is that we say, I need more work-life balance. I need to balance my life. I'm out of balance. And what that does, language is important. Language tells us what our experience is going to be. And what happens is we sometimes use language that's not clear. So when we say I need to balance more, it's like all or nothing thinking. We need to balance all of the areas. So instead, what I would have you do is look where the gap is, and where there's that something there's just a little bit of a hook in it for you. It's like, oh, I wish that looked a little different. For 90 days, just 90 days, not forever, because that's the other thing. We think we need to balance and balance it all, and it's like in perpetuity. It's not. For 90 days, pick what you're going to put energy into. So if it is spirituality, bringing in more spirituality, if it's bringing in more, I mean, you're here tonight. This is personal development, figure out for the next 90 days how you're going to bridge that gap a little bit. But again, I only want you to focus on 3 for the next 90 days. And at the end of 90 days, just notice what happened. How did it work out for you? Did you feel more fulfilled or more happy? Is it a little more, is it closer to where you want it to be as far as the gap is skinnier? So 3 things, 90 days. At the end of 90 days, it's like you've conducted an experiment. You just get curious and say, huh. And then you can pick another 3 for the next 90 days. So it's not everything. It's 3 things. It's not forever. It's for 90 days. Okay. Jamie Lynn, how did you end up on your list?
Mine, the one that was a little surprising to me was health and fitness, because I feel like I give the health and fitness attention. But on my second list, it was all the way at the bottom in comparison to the other things. Career on the first list was down at the bottom, but on my second list, it was up at the top. What I do though is personal development. So those are very much aligned for myself and for my career. Family stayed right at the same.
Okay. So notice the ones that you'd like to put a little more energy into just for 90 days and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that I had to turn my cup around so everybody could see the Kristen's beloved. Yay. She gave me one. I was so happy. What happens is that life happens, life changes. Think of all the different seasons that you've had in your life to this point, right? Hey, Deb, welcome. It's great to have you. If you have a chance to come on camera, we'd love to see you. But what happens is that, or not, we have different things that come up, like the three big D's, death, divorce, disease, right? And they consume our life sometimes, and we're still dealing with everything else. And so when it comes to the things that we go through in life, you've got to consider what's coming up. So for instance, I came to Florida I go back and forth between Florida and Pennsylvania. My grandbaby and all of my family is in Pennsylvania. I get to see him next week. But my happy place is Florida. I don't like winter. I chase sunshine. I love being down here. And I got here last year at the very, very, very end of December, had New Year's down here. And less than a week later, my son calls me on the phone. He says, Mom, he says, Michelle, who is my counterpart, the other grandma, my daughter-in-law's mother, Michelle has cancer. I need you to come home. Michelle is also the caregiver for Quinn, our grandson, right? Our two children married each other, and the grandbaby is who she was taking care of. Well, she couldn't. He says, Mom, we need help with Quinn. We need you to come home. So I'm like, okay. Family, all of a sudden, rocketed to the top space of that list. And Deb, I'm going to catch you up in a second. Rocketed to the top place of that list. And I thought, okay, I only have so much bandwidth. What gives? Now, my husband, God love him, he stayed here in Florida because he knew I had my hands full. So relationship went down on the list a little bit, but it was a result of something happening, but it was still a choice that we made as a couple. But my business, I pulled way back on my business. I'm like, if I'm going to keep it on the rails, what are the things that I must do and when am I going to do them? So I focused on the three, but everything moved around when something like that happened. So Deb, I'd like you to do me a favor and get a pen and a piece of paper. So why I do this exercise is that I want you to know what's important to you, where you're at right now. So Deb, what I'll have you do is in the chat, if you can look in the chat, I'm going to repost this so that you can see it. I'm going to post it now. Hold on one second. 6 areas of life. Career is what you do for work. Family is how you define it. It could be you and your kids, spouse, significant other. It could be extended family, aunts and uncles, grandparents, cousins, however you define it, it's up to you. Relationships are usually intimate relationships. If you don't have an intimate relationship in your life, it could be best friends or something like that. Health and fitness is what you do to improve your body, your physical body. Personal development is what you do to improve anything else outside of your physical body. And spirituality is your connection to source, whether that's God, the collective, the universe. It could be organized religion, could be meditation or yoga. You get to decide. And what I'd like you to do is put those in order according to what is most important to you down to what is least important. So you'll take those 6 areas of life. The one that's most important will go in the number 1 slot. The one that's least important, that'll go in the number 6 slot, but they all can be important, but I'm forcing you to rank them. So you go ahead and you do that now and do it quickly. Don't overthink it. Whatever your gut tells you, go with it because this is for you, not for anyone else. So when it comes to this exercise, this is feedback for you. So this isn't something that's a one and done. This is something that you should do frequently. If you feel like you're out of sync, if you feel like you're overwhelmed, if you feel like you're not fulfilled, then this is something I would have you go back to. It's very easy. It takes what? Maybe 5 minutes, maybe. So Deb, do you have those in order, 1 through 6? Okay, good. Now what I want you to do is I want you to write another column of 1 through 6, and I want you to put them in order of how you spend your time. Okay, each of those same areas of life, wherever you spend the most time goes in the number 1 slot. Wherever you spend the least amount of time goes in the number 6 slot. Again, no judgment. no judgment. This is for you. And do it quickly. Whatever your gut says, go with it. And this will give you some feedback. Okay. So what you're doing in this exercise is this is just a quick check-in with you. Am I living my life the way I want to live my life? Or are some things out of sync? Am I giving to someone else instead of myself? Is someone else dictating how I want to live my life instead of me saying, this is how I want to live my life? So this is kind of the starting point of, am I putting my time and attention into the things I really want to put my time and attention into? Or am I letting myself get too scattered? All right. So a check-in doing this is kind of the first piece of what does success where you're at right now mean to you? And that would be that you're putting your time and energy into the things that fulfill you. And again, where the gaps are important to be mindful of, being mindful of that gap. And then not forever, for 90 days, you put some energy to where the gap is, right? And you're not, balance is bad. I'm going to say this for Deb, balance is bad, and it's a B word, because balance implies that you need to be balancing everything. And what I'm saying is you feel better if you focus on 3. What are your top 3? And make those the most important. So for me, when Michelle got sick, it was family. It was health and fitness. I was undergoing a health and fitness journey. I donated 60 pounds back to the universe. So thank you. I was in the middle of that, and Gail knows about that because she's done an amazing job doing the same thing. And kind of once you're working on that, you don't want to give that up. So family was important, health and fitness was important, and my business was important. That was the 3 that I put my energy into. But, the business was way behind the other 2. I mean, I had to be there for my family, and I had to make sure that I was doing what I needed to take care of myself. Otherwise, I couldn't take care of my family. So being mindful of that gives you a piece of clarity of how you want to be. And again, we know from Kristen, it is not doing, it is being, right? Who do we want to be? If we're going to be successful, we're the people who get to define it. We get to lead ourselves first into the life that we want, into the experience that we want. So hopefully that exercise was a little illuminating for you. Okay. All right. So here's what I'd like to know from you next. We're going to play. All right. And anybody who's online, you can do the same exercises. Is that having that vision for what you want those top 3 areas of life to be. So I'd like you to spend a little bit of time and pick the top 3 areas of life, because again, we're not doing any more than 3. And I would like to ask you, how will you know when you have it? How will you know when you are operating at potential, when you are being fulfilled by that area of life, when it is meeting your needs, when you are quote unquote being successful in that area of life? How will you know when you have it? And so let's take some time and just jot down some things that are coming to you. So for health and fitness, it might be that you are wearing a certain clothing size, or that the scale reflects a certain number, or it could be that you're eating more whole foods, or maybe you're eating more vegetables. Maybe you've moved to a vegan or a vegetarian diet. But whatever it looks like for you, how will you know when you are firing on all cylinders in that area of life? With relationships, it could be we do a date night once a week. We go on a couple's vacation, once a year. And these would be benchmarks for you. Kind of like, oh, yeah, my life would be ideal, or this area of life would be ideal when this happens, this is going on. And so what's happening is you're tapping into you. This is not me telling you. All of your answers are inside. And it's just having that way to tap into who you are and access them. That is leading yourself first. So when you think about those 3 areas of life and how you will know when they are ideal, then that's, on your 90-day experiment of putting more energy into those, then this gives you even more direction as to how you can do that. See, but here's what happens is that we look outside of ourselves and we see other people and what they're doing, and especially with social media. And it's kind of like, oh, I need to be doing that. Oh, I need to have that. Oh, that's something that I need to explore. And then all of a sudden we are surrounded by all the bright, shiny rabbits, and we're pulling ourselves in every single direction possible. And we are not happy. We are frustrated. We are overwhelmed, and we're comparing ourselves to others. So we feel like shit. Can I say that? I did. Anyway. So yeah. And so it's kind of like, okay, then what does success look like for me? Because sometimes you got to remember that you're just running your own race. It's not about you running against anybody else. This is about you. So define it. But what happens is that we don't define success, and therefore we chase everything. And that is just a recipe for overwhelm. So now you've got an idea of the areas of life that are the most important to you. Now you have an idea of what these areas of life look like when they're ideal, right? And now you have a challenge to go out and put some energy into them in a certain way for the next 90 days and just see what happens. So here's where I'd like to go next. Kind of what we've been focusing on are things at a high level. But what I would like to dive into is a little bit more of the professional while keeping the personal in mind. And I want to talk about values. So values are how we determine what's important. Values are the way we know right and wrong. They are the things that motivate us. When our values are being met, we're happier. So our values, though, are formed from our history, our experiences, our beliefs, our memories. And sometimes we have values that serve us, and sometimes we have values that don't. So here's what I'd like you to do is we're going to do this around career. All right, because we haven't really gone into that area a little bit. But when it comes to the areas that are important to you, the areas of life that are important to you, the top 3, I'd like you to explore what the values are in those areas as well. Because here's the deal. We're going to look at this through career, but I want you to take it into the other areas as well. When we are looking for work, when we are moving from one job to another job, generally when people are doing things for career, things are pretty mapped out. And what I mean by that is that here is a job, and here's the job description, and here's the pay grade, and here's the job responsibilities, and this is what you're going to be doing. But just because we can do it doesn't mean that we should. And even when it comes to starting a business or doing something on your own, just because you can do it doesn't necessarily mean you should do it in a certain way. And so our values are an indicator of the experience that we want to have happen. And so I put it this way. When you have, and say it's a corporate setting, 2 jobs that are identical, they are the same title, they are the same wage grade, they are the same responsibilities, they are identical in every aspect, except they're in 2 different departments, or maybe they're in 2 different organizations. You will not experience these jobs the same. They will be different. And the reason that they're different is because it is not about the role that you're performing. Whether you are a careerist or an entrepreneur or a solopreneur or a small business owner, it is not what you do in your work. It is how you experience what you do in your work that matters the most. Mama said, money don't buy happiness. And she was right. I was in a corporate position where I was making great money. I had fabulous benefits, and it was sucking the life out of me. And that was my last job before I left corporate for good, because I just hit the wall. I was so stressed out. It was just a toxic environment, but the money was great. So I want you to think about what it is that you want to experience when you do your work. And I'll have people in my audience and say, well, I'm headed towards retirement. Okay, great. What do you want to experience in your retirement? How do you want it to be? So think about words that describe the experience that you want to have. I will share mine. For me, my top values: meaningful, got to be meaningful, fun, travel, fairly compensated, respected. What else is on my value list? It's been a while since I've taken a look at it. Probably should. For others, right? So not just my business focused on me, focused on others. Helping others is really important to me. So those are the things that drive what I do. So think about the 1 or the 2 word labels that you would put on your values of how you want to experience the work that you do. Do you want it to be fun, joyful, easy? Does it need to be meaningful? Do you need to, what I hear from other, challenged is one of mine. Some people in the corporate environment will say they want to know growth, that there's got to be a track for growth. So think about the 1 or 2 words and write a list of as many of them as you can think of how you want to experience the work that you do. Could be that you want to be a solopreneur. Could be you want to work with a great team. And just go with whatever your gut says to you, and come up with a list as many as you can. Maybe 7 or 10. And if you're having trouble, let me know. I'll ask you some questions to help maybe uncover some more, because again, they're inside of you. Hi, Deb.
Hello. So I'm retired. And I came out of retirement for a former, so I worked for a nonprofit that serves independent inventors across the country. And one of the former board members reached out and he just kept reaching out over time. And it was just so sweet. It was like, he and his wife are amazing people. And one day he finally got the courage to say, would you be interested in working 20 hours a week for us, doing, this, and this? And it's like, I can do 10 right now, but I can't do 20. And he says, I'll take it, which I should have thought about before I said it.
Well, good for you
But-
for enforcing that boundary at the outset.
Oh, I had to. So long story, very short. In the last 3 years, we've lost our son-in-law through a horrible disease of synovial sarcoma, a cancer form.
I'm very sorry.
We sold we sold our house out from under us without a house to buy last year. I had a fractured knee, torn ACL, MCL, downsized from a 3,800 square foot house to an 1,800 square foot house. My husband retired. He has had 5 addresses. I've had 29. Moving's no big deal to me. So we are in chaos.
Okay.
But
Sounds
to
like there's a
spend
lot
that
going
10
on.
hours in, working for them, doing what they asked and being so deeply appreciated. I mean, it just brought me so much joy because they were so thankful. The work I was doing was absolutely menial. I was being paid way too much money for what I was doing for them because it was just background research online.
Okay.
And
Is there a question buried in here?
There is.
Okay.
Is it something wrong with doing something like that just because it brought them so much joy? I mean, I was being paid, but it was just like the gratitude that they had was so deep that it made me so excited to just do this work for them. I didn't care what I was doing if it would help them
Okay.
advance what they did, which supported what I did for my entire adult life.
Okay.
This work I did.
The question would be, how did it make you feel? I mean, it's great that
Amazing.
all right, then you're okay. You're the barometer.
Okay.
You're the barometer. So you can do for others.
Yeah.
I mean, what I do isn't easy. I mean, it takes a certain amount of endurance to be able to get on a plane and fly to conferences and speak and then fly home and fly somewhere else. And I mean, you've got to have your physical container in a certain space to be able to do that, which was one of the reasons I knew that I had to go on the health and fitness journey, because I wouldn't be able to level up in my business unless I could do that. So you pay attention to how you feel first, because it very easily could have been, Deb, that it was, hey, we want 20 hours and you would have said yes, if you didn't have those boundaries in place. And it could have been that it didn't fulfill you. I mean, they were ecstatic, but you were like, oh my God, how much longer do I have to do this?
Yeah.
Right. So it depends on, you're the barometer. How did you feel about it? And so what I sense is that appreciation is something that could be one of your values. I mean, because that just lit you up. They so appreciated it. So
I just got another text today from them because what I was doing for them was not successful. Not my fault. I was doing what they asked.
Okay. Did you put appreciation on your list?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you have others on your list?
Is what?
Do you have others on your list?
Meaningful to myself.
Okay.
And that was where I wrote down appreciated.
Okay.
I
see that
how
totally.
far I got, but I just kept thinking, so I just got a text. They're in the middle of their national event right now. And he's texting me and saying, we need to talk soon.
So how can we get more values on your list? What else would you put on your, what do you want to experience? Do you want to continue to work, or is this something you're going to shift and focus on retirement?
I still have enough to give. And if I can be of help, like I said, the whole piece of working with independent inventors, or the creative, innovative spirit that people have, but they don't have the education, and being able to bring them the tools that they need to make good business decisions is my whole, it's literally 38 years of my life have been spent doing that.
Okay, cool.
So
think about what lights you up about that. So for all of you, I'd like you to think of a time where you were totally and completely motivated. Like things were just lining up. You were en fuego. You were just off and running. And what was going on in that moment? What was going on at that time? What were you experiencing? Because it's those times where, so for instance, how I got into keynote speaking was by accident. I was at a training, there were 300 people and they wanted me to do the introduction. I thought it was going to be a couple of minutes, just welcome them to your training. It needed to be 45 minutes and I needed to weave in some content. I was petrified, but I didn't pass out. When I got off the stage, I felt like Rocky and I thought, okay, there is something here and I need to explore it. So it's that feeling that comes with the work that you do. You know, I traveling and going to all the people that I get to meet, you know, when somebody comes up to me after a keynote and I shared a story from stage and they were like, oh my goodness, it was like you were talking just to me. That happened to me. And now they've got a way forward. It makes my little toes tap. So I want you to think about whether it's you're donating your time and it's work, or whether this is a business that you have, or you know, working with a client even. Some clients need to be fired because they suck. So, you know, think about the experience that you want to have. So Deb, keep going on your list. I'd like you to have a few more. Okay.
Yep.
Gail, how many do you have?
I have 7.
You have 7. How about you, Jamie Lynn?
8.
Okay,
9.
great.
Yep.
9. Cheryl?
I have 12 because I took a few of your words.
Okay, that's fine. And the thing is, you can Google values and there'll be sheets and sheets and sheets of words.
Yeah.
But what I encourage you to do is not pick them all up. Pick up the ones that pull at you the strongest. All right. Cheryl, will you play with me a bit?
Sure.
All right. Let me have your, give me the 12 words.
Trust,
Okay.
communication, freedom, good leaders, people.
What about
support.
people?
Just the type of people that I work with. I
Okay.
want them to be, you know, open and communicative and trustworthy. And
Okay. Open, communicative, and trustworthy people. If you had to put one label on that, what would you say? What kind of people?
genuine.
Genuine people. Okay. See, here's the important thing. It's not my word, it's hers, because words have no inherent meaning. We always define the words. So we got trust, communication, freedom, good leaders, genuine people. What else?
Do I matter? So it's, you know, kind of that, am I respected? Do I add value? Am I appreciated? So that's kind of combining 3 of my words.
Okay. So do I matter? All right. What else?
And the opportunity to help other people.
Help others. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do you have more?
Challenged.
Challenged. Okay.
And then I had meaningful, respected, and appreciation are the ones that I added.
Okay. All right. Now you said respected when you were talking about do I matter? So do I matter and respected, do they mean the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. Which one would you like to take off the list?
Respected.
Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do. When my son was little, at Christmas time, the Toys R Us catalog would come out, you know, the big, heavy, beefy flyer, and Mitch would get out his Sharpie and he'd go to town. It was a red Sharpie. And he would just, hey, Mom, I found what I want for Christmas. And it was just like every page had something. And so we developed something called the Mitchell method. And that is, we only compare 2 at a time. So he would say, oh, Mom, I really, really want this. but I want that too. And I would say, okay, which one do you want the most? And he would say, okay, I want this one. I'm like, all right, fine. So we have that one. We flip the page. Oh, but I really want this too. Okay. Out of these two, which one do you want the most? I think I want this one more. Okay, that's fine. We would get through the catalog and there would be something at the top of the heap. And we kind of do values the same way. So Cheryl, I'm going to ask you to play with me and go with whatever your gut says.
Okay.
All right. When it comes to values, we do this 2 at a time. It forces you to look at them differently. So trust or communication, what one is most important?
Trust.
Trust or freedom?
Trust.
Trust or a good leader?
Trust.
Trust or genuine people?
Trust.
Trust or do I matter?
Oof. Trust.
Which one's most important?
Trust. If there isn't trust, then none of these other things matter.
Okay. We're still going to go through them.
Okay.
Trust or helping others?
Helping others.
Okay. Helping others or challenged?
Helping others.
Helping others or meaningful?
Helping others is
Helping
meaningful.
others or appreciated?
Helping others.
Okay. So helping others is number one. Right after she said, well, there's got to be trust. It's not, or none of the others. And then it was like, and that's why you do it this way, because then you're getting the full information from you. This is just, you're looking at it. You're like, oh, okay. No, this really is what's important. So at the top of the heap for you, Cheryl, if you're not doing something that is helping others, maybe you're getting a great paycheck, but if they put you in a cubicle and you got to put little widgets together for 8 hours a day, you're going to rip your hair out. At some point, it's just not going to matter enough. And so your values need to be, they fulfill you. So they need to be met. But first you have to know what they are.
Right.
So helping others is something that's really important to you. So let's go through and do a couple more, just so we kind of know what the top 3 are. And all of you, I would like you to do this. And I'm going to give you some time to do it in just a moment. So trust or communication?
Trust.
Trust or freedom?
Trust.
Trust or good leader?
Trust.
Trust or genuine people?
Trust.
Trust or do I matter?
Trust.
Trust or challenged?
Trust.
Trust or meaningful?
Meaningful.
Meaningful or appreciated?
Meaningful.
Okay. Number 2 is meaningful. We'll go for number 3, trust or communication?
Trust.
Trust or freedom?
Trust.
Trust or good leader?
Trust.
Trust or genuine people?
Trust.
Okay. But there was a pause there, and that's okay. But I just want to bring it up because now that you've gone through this a couple of times, you start thinking about things a little differently and you give it more consideration. So that was just perfect. Trust or do I matter?
Do I matter?
Okay. Do I matter or challenged?
Oof. Challenged.
Challenged or appreciated?
Challenged.
Challenged. Okay.
That's really hard though, because some of them can kind of, as I'm thinking about them, it's like, well, this could go with this.
It could go with it, but here's the deal.
Yeah.
Unless they mean the same thing, they're different.
Okay.
Okay. If one word equals another word, it means the same thing according to you. Perfect. If they don't,
Okay.
they're separate.
Okay.
So
That's
one of the things
helpful.
that you'll notice, and that's why we go through this in iterations, it's really quick and you're going with, with whatever pops up, is that if we would have had her put this in order by herself, she probably would have put trust at the top of the heap because that's how she was pacing when we first started. And then it's also interesting. It was like the second or third iteration through the genuine people. She got a pause. She still moved forward, but she kind of paused there where she hadn't in the past. In the final iteration, challenged. We went by challenged once. It didn't come up because meaningful's underneath it. And that was number 2. But in the third iteration, it was kind of like, okay, challenged is something that's really important to me. So now she's got her top 3: helping others, meaningful, and challenged. So when she, and Cheryl, what is it that you do?
Organizational development.
Organizational development. Okay. In how she does organizational development. You know, if she's with a client and she really feels that she is helping this client, that she is with the leadership development and that she is helping others, and like she can see it, that people are nodding and they're picking up what she's putting out when she's doing this, that it is meaningful to the organization, and that, you know, hey, she's got to get creative and innovative with how she does it, then her needs are being met. It's kind of like, even though you're tired, it's like at the end of the day, it's like, I had a good day. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy, but it's like, I had it. And you get to claim that for yourself, but you can't until you know it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we do this. And that's why we do it in this way. So I want to give you some time to go through and at least do this with career. And so, you know, Cheryl, you can keep going and figure out how some of these others, according to how we did it. But you know, I'd like everybody else at least to get their top 3 so that you've experienced this too. Because all of this is giving you clarity. Clarity isn't for me or about me. It's about you. And then when everybody has their top 3, just let me know. Jamie Lynn, you're good?
Yep.
All right. Gail, are you good? All right. Cheryl's got hers. Deb, how you doing? Do you have your top 3? All right, perfect. So I want to go just a little bit deeper with this because values come on, they come into your mind for a reason. It just depends on what the reason is. And like I said, values are how you're motivated. So Cheryl, I'd like to ask you, do I matter? How did that end up on your list? Why is that important to you?
I probably because of previous work experience where I didn't feel like my contributions were acknowledged. Not that I wanted praise, but I just wanted to know that my contribution was part of the big picture.
I've been there. Deb's not, and I mean, something like that happens. And so what happens from, and thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. We define these words. So they are what drive us, but for what reason? And usually there's a reason they got put on our list. You know, when we talked about helping others, I mean, that's something that you aspire to. That's something that moves you forward. It's kind of out in front of you. It's motivating to you. It's something you that lights you up and you move toward that. When it comes to values, we have the stick or the carrot, essentially. And so, you know, helping others is a carrot. It's something that you aspire to. But do I matter is something that stung. It was the stick. And so you're moving away from it. It went on your list and it motivates you because you're like, oh, I don't want that anymore. So I want this instead. And here's the problem with that, is that when it comes to motivation, if we are motivated by something that is the stick, the farther away we get from it, the less of it we feel, and we can slip back into a pattern. So beginning of the year, we have weight donation, and I say donation, not loss, because when you lose something, you look for it, and a lot of times you find it. But at the beginning of the year, it's kind of like, oh, I'm going to do this. You know, I don't ever want to, you know, you throw out all your fat clothes or whatever it is that you do. And I never want to feel that way again, because that's a stick. It's painful. You're not comfortable with it. So you go on like the red pepper, grapefruit, chili, you know, fasting diet, and you only drink a gallon of this stuff every day. And so for the first 2 days, because you're motivated, it's like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And, you know, by day 3, it's like, oh, can I just have a piece of chicken? Day 4, it's like, oh, I just want some brownies, you know. It's just like the farther you get away from what kickstarted you, the less energy you feel from it. It's like, okay, I'm just done with this. I don't want to, you know, I'm not going to the gym today. And you just start sliding and you slide back. That's because the energy that was pouring into that motivation was behind you. And so it's like a rubber band that you pull off of your wrist. And at some point, it's either going to break or it's going to snap back and it's going to sting. So when we have values that are on our list and they're there because they're the stick, that is our opportunity to explore. Because what happens is that we are looking through the lens of something that we don't want. We are actually turned around and faced backwards because we're focused on something that we don't want instead of what we do. So when you have values that are on your list for a reason in the past, you know, that's your opportunity to explore it, to let your stuff come up, to go to the basement, to sit with it, to just explore what's underneath it. And once you have identified what it is, and once you've done your work around that, then you have an opportunity to learn the lesson and let it go, so that something that is more positive and aspirational can drop into your list and pull you forward. Because when we have things that, and all of us have had people that have bad bosses or people that have disrespected you or talked over you in meetings or got the promotion and you didn't, or sold the client or whatever, we get stung by those. I mean, we feel them for a reason, but we're not meant to carry it with us long term, but we do. We do. So our opportunity is to look at the things on our list, whether it's in career. I'd like you to do this for the top 3 areas of life that you identified. I would like you to explore your values for those top 3 areas, because again, how can you have an experience if you don't know what it is that you want? How can you be successful and feel fulfilled in your life if you don't even know what that is? So pay attention to the ones that are the stick, and develop your values for the things that, for the other areas, for the other 3 areas. So I'm going to pause here and just questions. What questions do you have about what we've been doing to this point? And if there's anybody who's watching this recording, if you've got questions, it's Debbie@gettingtoclarity.com, GETTINGTOCLARITY.com, and I'd be happy to answer them. But any questions coming up? Because we're going to stay with the professional. And here's what I'd like you to do. Again, with your pen, I'd like you to think about the work that you do. And I'd like to have you consider your next level of what it is that you're doing. And it could be that your next level is, hey, I'm moving more towards my values. It could be that it's more clients, it's more revenue, it's identifying who I'm going to help, the nonprofits. It could be starting a new program. It could be anything like that. I want you to think about what that next level might be at a high level, just something you may even be curious about. And what I'd like you to do is, what are the things that are on a list, and you're going to create a list that you want to do that move you in that direction? Because often there's a lot of different ways that we can get there. So make a list of as many things as you can think of. Quantity over quality. Whatever pops up from your gut is just fine. When you consider the next level of what you do, what is on the list to get you there? And I'm going to give you a minute or two just to think. Whatever answer pops into your head, write it down. Could be revenue, salary, clients, order new business cards, design a website, get certified, go for an advanced degree, anything. Give you a few more seconds. All right. You know, the thing is that, again, that's why clarity is my word, and why I feel so passionate about it is because once we have clarity, then we have direction. Once we have clarity, we know at least a little better the yes and the no. You know, we get what we need to or get to put our energy into. We start living our own life instead of allowing someone else to really define how we live our lives. And it's funny because when I speak, I'll go into the audience and I'll say, who here is taking a really cool vacation? And, you know, everybody's raising their hands and like, ooh, I went to Hawaii. Ooh, I went to Peru. You know, ooh, I went to Antarctica. And I'm like, okay, will you play with me? And it's like, where are you coming from? Oh, I live in Oklahoma. Okay. To go from Oklahoma to Antarctica, that's quite a trip. Oh yeah, it was a long trip. Okay. Well, to get from point A to point B, what were some of the things that you had to do? And they're like, well, you know, I had to go out and buy some clothes because going to Antarctica, it's kind of cold. And, you know, we had to get airline tickets and, you know, budget for airline to look for fares and think, you know, where we were going to stay. And, you know, did you do some oh yeah, we did some really cool excursions and I said, well, did you have a good time? And they're like, oh, we had the best time. It was a trip of a lifetime. And I'm like, because if you invest that much time and money and energy into something, you don't want it to suck, right? But when do you do that for your career? When do you do that for your work? Figure out, well, what am I doing? How am I going to get there? What's the experience that I want to have? And how do I line those things up? And so that's why we point it back to this. And the other thing that happens in my audience is show of hands for how many of you did you have a hard time thinking about this? Like, what's next? What are the steps? And it's a 50-50 split usually. Some people, their pen is down there, it's just flying. Other people, it's like, oh crap, I don't know. So what I'll usually do is do a debrief with the room, because I'm usually in an industry, like I'm speaking to women in banking, or I'm speaking to credit unions, and they're all in the same industry. Last a couple of weeks ago, I was at the Women's Food Service Forum. So they're all in different aspects of food. So all the big restaurants and chains and paper products and consumer goods and stuff like that. And we do a room debrief. So like we did with the values, it's like, oh, you hear that? Yeah, I want that for me. And it helps everybody to beef up their list a little bit. So what I want you to think about is, how many do we have on our list? How many do each of you have on your list? You have 7. Okay, Gail. You have 3? You have 3. Okay, you have 3. Jamie Lynn has 3. All right. 7. And Cheryl, how many do you have on your list? You have 1. Okay. All right. So homework for Jamie Lynn and Cheryl. Tell me, Jamie Lynn, what are the 3 that you have on your list?
Well, I have 6. I wasn't sure which 3 you were talking about, like the 3 things that I want to do immediately.
No, I wanted you to brainstorm a list of as many things as possible that you could think of. It could be
Oh.
10.
I just have the 3 things that I am doing immediately.
Okay.
So
What else is there?
well, on the same page is what I wanted in this next level of my career,
Okay.
things I wanted to do. So
Okay. So make a complete, like, empty out. Just let your brain go. Cheryl, what do you have on your list?
Writing, and that's, so that's kind of some of my steps. I have a few steps of some resource pieces that I'm working on. And I think the more I do those smaller pieces, the more confidence it's going to bring me to be able to create the larger writing content pieces that I want to create.
Okay. All right. Content's pretty beefy. So if that's what you're focused on, that's great. That's great. If you had a list, if you had, because especially with entrepreneurs and especially with solopreneurs, we wear all the hats. And so we're thinking we got to do everything at once. And that just gets us stressed out and burnt out. So when it comes to it, clarity in this piece is about finding out what's really important. And so what I do is I take people through a bucket list exercise. You can do this. I'm going to do the exercise with this. If you've got a to-do list, you can do this with your to-do list. Anything that you've got a list and you want to figure out, where do I need to start? This is what you do. So this is Debbie Peterson's soon to be famous career bucket list exercise. You have 3 buckets, right? You have an A bucket, a B bucket, and a C bucket. There is criteria. The A bucket are the things that are most important to you, not anybody else. And they are important to you because either they make your little toes tap, there's something that you really want to do, it gives you energy, or it is something that is going to move the needle the fastest in the direction that you want it to go. Those are the items that go on the A bucket. The B bucket are the things that are important, but they're just not as important as the A bucket. The C bucket are the items that are, isn't it interesting that I thought about that? I don't really want to do it right now, but I'm just going to put a pin in it. And so I don't lose it. Okay. What happens is, as high achievers, I see you. You're going to put everything or want to put everything in the A bucket, and that's just going to stress you out. So you have to divide your list equally among all 3 buckets. So Cheryl, lucky for you, you've got 1 item. And I encourage you to think of more though,
Yeah, I will do that.
All right. So divide your list equally. So for Jamie Lynn, for Deb and Gail, it's 2, 2, and 3. One bucket has 2, another bucket has 2, another bucket has 3. And I want you, again, quickly do it. Whatever pops up, put it in that bucket. And the last thing I would like you to do is look at your items in your A bucket and figure out what one is most important. And you can do the Mitchell method if you need to, but I think that you'll be able to look at it and figure it out. So at the end of this exercise, you should have an A1 item. Did everybody have an A1 item? Jamie Lynn does. Cheryl does. Gail, you okay? Which one's most important? Okay. She's like, darn it. You made me choose. Deb, how about you? Do you have an A1? Do you have your A? Do you have your A bucket? Go with your gut. Because we're going to play with that for the rest of the time that we have left.
I just want to make one comment,
Yep.
if I could. Just in thinking about different areas of my life, I think of, obviously, yes, putting, everything is the most important thing. Everything has to be addressed. But there are a lot of things that pop in my head and I say, that's interesting. Where did that come from? Make a note of it. So it's interesting that you include that in the bucket, because I wouldn't have.
You don't want to lose track of them, because the thing is that the A1 item is the thing that we want to put a focus on, right? But it could be that something happens that we can't focus on that on any particular day, but we've got maybe we don't have enough time, or we're not in a place where we can do what we want to do. And it could be that we got to move on to something else. Well, when you've got everything ranked, it's kind of like, what the next most important thing is. And so you are putting your energy into really moving that needle towards the overarching aim of the work that you do. And if you do this with the other areas of life as well, it will give you even more clarity. Here are all the ways that I can do this, but what am I going to focus on so that I make an impact in this area of life, that I get to live it the way that I want to. So pick your A1 item, and here's what we're going to do. I want you to imagine an org chart. So I'm going to draw a quick little sketch here. All right. So if you had something like this, say this is an org chart. At the top is the president or the CEO, right? And then it goes down to like SVPs or VPs here. And then, under them, we have all the managers. This is how I'd like you to look at whatever your A1 item is. And especially like Cheryl, because Cheryl's got writing. She's talking about content and writing. Jamie Lynn, what's your number one? Your A1 item?
Group sessions.
Group sessions. Okay. When it comes to group sessions, what are the high level categories that you need to focus on in order to have successful group sessions? One of them might be content for the group sessions. Another one could be maybe, marketing or advertising to fill the group sessions. It could be networking is a piece of it. You get to say, but at a high level, what are those categories? And there may be more than 3. But then start chunking down. That's what we're doing. Chunk down under content. Well, okay, if the session is on this topic, then these are the pieces of content that I want to deliver. These are the exercises that I want to take them through. And so you start listing these things out. And what this does not have to take long. You're just going through and you're chunking down so that you can organize it. And what this creates is your roadmap for what you need to do and when you can do it. You automatically know what you can focus on to keep going. Because me and my love of 3. One of the things I suggest to you is something I call the power of 3. And that is that as early in the day as you can, that you focus on 3 things. They're going to move you towards your A1 goal. And they are whatever you say they are. And that could be, if you've got a day where you've got meetings, maybe it's 3 teeny tiny small things. Like you go on Amazon and buy the book you want to read. Maybe it's you send an email to someone. Maybe you place a phone call to someone, or you capture a website. It could be something as tiny as that, but it's moving you towards your goal. Maybe you got a day where you got a lot more room, and it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to map out this group event that I want to have. Like I'm going to, just get everything all mapped out about what I want the experience to be, because you have more time. Then it's 3 bigger things, but each day making that commitment to yourself that if I'm going to move the needle on this, I'm going to do 3 things. It doesn't matter how big or small. If you do it consistently, then you will be making traction. You will be moving towards your goal. So what I'd like you to think of, again, playing with your A1 item, who are the people that can help you? Because what happens is we think we need to figure it out all on our own, and we don't. Who are the people that have already done it? Who are the people that are doing it, or maybe a little farther down the path than you? Who are the people that you can tap in? Cheryl, for me, content ideas, that I get twisted up in those sometimes. And I'll go to my mastermind and I'm like, I need to have a conversation, because I need to figure out what the hell I'm going to write about for the next, 6 weeks or whatever. I'll go to a person, I go to those people and they help me ideate. Right. For you, Jamie Lynn, if there's someone that's done events successfully, hey, can I take you to coffee, or, are you willing to have lunch with me, and tap into their brain to see what can you share? So think about the people that can help you, and write down the names. This is who I need to reach out to. And you might not have the name of the person, but it might be, I need to find someone that's doing this. And here's the crazy, freaky thing about this, is that once you plant that seed in your mind, you say, this is what I want to find. And then your unconscious mind is like off and running. And you'll run into that person like a week later. And it was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I saw you. I was just thinking I needed to reach out to you about this. And all of a sudden they're there. And that's how it works. But that's what clarity does for you. It plants that seed in your mind, so your mind knows where to focus. So, yeah, thinking about that. And then the final piece I want to ask you is, when you think about what's next for you, what is getting in the way? If you want to share. When I do this exercise with my audiences, and they will tell me what gets in the way. They will say fear, they will say self-doubt, the limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, or who am I to think I can do this? They'll say time. They'll say other people's problems. Think about what is getting in your way. Gail?
It's funny you said that, because on one of my lists, it was to stop feeling or have to gain more confidence and stop undervaluing myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
it's just like the stick values that I told you about. When you've got something that is holding you back like that, then that's it. It's like a sign, dig here, because we can have the clarity. This is what I want to do. Oh my goodness, it's all mapped out. You can think about the people, and it's kind of like you go to start and you're like, So it's just as important to think about what is getting in the way. You have to know what that is, and you have to be willing to do something around that, because from a cause and effect standpoint, you're either getting the results that you want, or you have reasons why you're not getting what you want. Those reasons are what are the obstacles. The reasons are what are holding you back, and you're the one putting energy into them. You're the one who are giving them enough energy and power that they can stop you or slow you down. So what do you want to put your energy into instead? So once you start digging into them, then you've got a way forward. You know, digging into those limiting beliefs and the other obstacles. So this is your roadmap. You got it all lined out. And the question becomes, what is the very first thing that you will do when you leave here related to this? Doesn't have to be tonight, but what is the very first thing that you can do to put this in motion? I'd like you to write it down. You don't have to share it, but I'd like you to write it down and declare it, because you're worth that. And any questions? You've played so well tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I can be of assistance, just reach out. Let me know. I'm happy to. Hey, Deb.
Well, I have, what this conversation triggered something that since I moved, I have literally not even remembered. And it's a practice I did all the time. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Virtues Reflection Cards.
I haven't.
It's a set of 100 contemplative cards to help you awaken your spirit and live by your deepest values. And so there's 100 cards, and it explains what the meaning is. And I used to take one out every day and read it. And I have not done that now since last spring, or probably even before that. And it was just a wonderful way to start the day. So it's the Virtues Project.
All right.
It's where it's possible
Yeah.
to get it. And they're just amazing.
It doesn't have to be.
uplifting.
It doesn't have to be huge. I mean,
Right.
your unconscious threw that up. It's like, hey, remember this? For a reason, because it brought you joy. It was like calm, centered way to start the day. That's something so small, but it contributes to your success. I had a client once, when we talked about what brought her joy, she loved music. And the statement after that was, I used to always. And I said, okay, that's your homework. This week, every day, you need to listen to some music to inspire you. And when she came back the following week, I mean, it was a game changer. It can be things like that. And we think, oh, that can't be. But if it's popping up for a reason for you.
Yeah, it was one of those pieces where the reason it even came into my life is I was a volunteer with the restorative justice program, where a minor is convicted of felony. And instead of going through the judicial system, they meet to make the victim, the community, and the offender whole. And we started every meeting with going the whole circle and everybody taking a card.
That's beautiful. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that, Deb. Well, I know that it's 7 o'clock straight up. I know we've all got things to do. If I can be of service, if you have any questions, please email me. I'd be happy to. But I really appreciate you showing up and being here and being open and playing. You know, I'm hoping you got some clarity and you've got a way forward. So thank you very much. Jamie, thank you, Lynn, for supporting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Debbie. This was really good.
Good,
It was very good.
Good.
I have my roadmap.
All right, good. So everybody have a great evening. Be good to yourself. And I hope I get to see you soon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.